Hey guys, Forsaken here, and today I will be bringing you a guide for the Empire, because I just finished my first legendary campaign ever in Warhammer, and it was a win obviously, as I can see right now. And I thought it would be a good opportunity to give you some tips and tricks and give you for every single stage in the game, just some useful hints, stuff like that, and basically guide you through the legendary campaign. So what you want to start out with is you want to get Reichland ASAP. We can just leave this going here. And you basically ignore the quest and you want to unite Reichland at turn 5. That's the given for every single legendary campaign. You will be starting as the Empire, or I think every campaign, and I think in this guide there are a lot of things to learn that you can use in every single campaign, so not only legendary difficulty. And once you start to get Reichland and you get it, you will most likely face some orcs invading your lands, so you have to deal with them. And then there will be a rebellion, which you can deal with pretty easily if you are in position, so keep an eye out for that. They will spawn in your capital city, basically, and then you get the quest. After that, you should be able to field kind of 2 armies. You know, the second army won't be full, but that's still okay. And then you want to get Marine Land. And that's basically your setup that you will kind of get in every single legendary campaign. And I think Marine Land is really, really important, because Marine Land alone, this one city, gives you all the income of your other 3 regions for your Reichland province, other than your capital. So Marine Land is really, really important to get. Then you kind of build up. And the big thing here is that you have to fortify your settlements with walls, so you're safe. And if you do get the opportunity to get trade agreements very early on, so as early as turn 2, you can get 2 or 3, I think, in the first few turns. And on legendary difficulty, it's really difficult to get additional trade agreements. So if you are on like a low number of trade agreements, try to not get any additional trade producing or trade material producing buildings, because they don't really do that much. And once you fortify your settlements, you get some trade agreements. You will most likely get into war with another faction. And for me, most of the time, like I just started a few new campaigns just to test this out, this will be a southern nation. So something like over here, or the dwarves. And the big thing here is that you do want to go south regardless. So try to get non-aggression pacts with the north if possible, and try to expand your empire south. This will yield you multiple benefits. The first one is that you will prevent a really huge united confederation down there. If you do take out the fractions there pretty early on, they can't be a really big issue later, so that's important. And then you do not really need to focus on the other empire factions, as once chaos starts showing up, you will confederate them anyways, so it's not really important to go to war with them. Also, try to conserve your early game units, especially the right guards, if you start with friends, because they are really, really important, and they get regularly like up to 200 kills in every single battle. So that just shows you, if you use them correctly, they are the key unit to have in the early game, especially against your other empire rivals, as they most likely won't really field cavalry. Alright, once you do get over this, and I would say we could speak about the first Chaos Invasion, that's kind of when you enter the mid-game. So once you enter the mid-game, you do want to have, like, let's say a reasonable income, so that you can at least field 4 to 5 armies. I think that's a pretty good way to go about it. You do this by going for pretty, I think, normal town setup. So in every single town, you want to have the main building, of course, then you want to have the income building, walls, and then you have a flag slot, I like to call it. And this flag slot will need to be for the most part one of the following. You want to have a Shrine of Sigma in every single province. You want to have at least one tavern in every single province. Some provinces, depending on their corruption, stuff like that, you will need another tavern, so like a public order building basically. So those two things are really important because the Shrine of Sigma is important a little bit later on against corruption, and the tavern is just really important because on legendary difficulty you do get a permanent really high public order penalty, and this will just rise with events and stuff, so you can't just sit there and take it. You just need to combat it, and especially with the events and stuff like that, you really need to be at a positive public order, like at a surplus of public order for most of your game, so that if there are events that can give you multiple turns of bad public order, then you can pretty easily deal with this because you had really good public order beforehand. Then I like to get an army recruitment building in my outer provinces. So once chaos starts showing up, that's basically just right land, because the other provinces will be safe, because once chaos shows up, you will get at least defensive alliances, if not more, with the other empire factions, and a little bit later with the southern factions as well. Speaking of that, try to stay away from the north if possible, especially with alliances, but really more important with getting settlements, so that this river right over here will be your main defense line, and stay it that way, because you will see that chaos will march down here and will wipe out the north in a few turns, and you don't really want to spread yourself too thin. These are really huge lands, and you then would need to defend all of the coastline as well against the other chaos factions. So yeah, just my general strategy is to stay away from this, just defend this. You can defend your whole southern territories while just holding this river. So that's my strategy, and it went really well. Also try to stay away from any like military alliances early game and mid game, before chaos starts showing up, because they will get you into more wars, into more trouble, and spread you too thin. They will open up your flanks, and that's generally not what you want to have happened. Again, go south and fight your war there, and eventually confederate the other empire factions once chaos is getting pretty dominant. The main thing for like all of your gameplay here from the start to the very end is overextensions. That's your main concern. That's what you need to think about. Overextension is basically when you take too many provinces, invest too much money into them, and don't really have money for armies while staying at a really high income for too long, while you could maybe cut this income a little bit, but would be able to field one or two more armies, which are way too important to skip out on. So that's one point of overextension, investing way too much economy and money into more money later on. That only should have happened, or only should happen if you are really in the lead and you have all your flanks covered and everything, and you are prepared even for an attack that you like by a faction that you are not at war with at the moment. That's pretty important, because this can happen all the time. So don't really be greedy and say, all right, I get like I will go just economy buildings for 5 turns and upgrade those and stuff like that, because most likely you will get attacked and they will actually raise your cities, so that you could lose a lot of money. So try to not overextend with your economy, and the other thing again, try to not overextend with your regions. So don't go north, especially up to the sea if you can avoid it pretty early on, and even later on. Try to expand south. Alright, so the other thing is that you do not really need to focus on quests, like I did most of my quests after turn 200, so they're not really important. They are nice if you can get those, and I think they are pretty good. They have pretty good rewards, so maybe not, maybe don't get them as late as I did, but they are not a really important priority, so maybe these 5k income are better spent elsewhere. The other thing is that even though I said stay away from military alliances early on, once chaos becomes the main focus and defender of civilization becomes a thing, stuff like that, you do want to get alliances. And the thing is that you will shape the world after chaos comes with your diplomacy while chaos is there. So all the peace treaties and all the military alliances most likely will persist after chaos is gone. The only exception to that are like let's say the factions that you don't like anyways, so greenskins and the vampire accounts, stuff like that, because they just will hate you super hard once chaos is gone. I had vampire accounts at a really like I think plus 180 or something sympathy in the diplomacy screen, and I almost allied with them even because at one point they were pretty good and dwarves got wiped out pretty early on. But they will hate you again, and I got attacked like 5 turns after chaos was defeated. So keep that in mind. Another thing you need to focus on, and I think this is a little bit of a really like a really micro intensive thing. But if you check your diplomacy every single or like every few turns, not really every single turn, but every few turns. And chaos is an important factor to be to consider. The thing is that you can request just payments from the AI really early on once chaos starts showing up until chaos is defeated. So basically, you can request from every single AI faction money every single turn, and most of those turns they will just give you free money. So try to use that to your advantage. This will accumulate to several thousands, 10,000s, and I think even later on you could get maybe up to 100,000 gold while chaos is there just by requesting payments every single turn. The other thing is that you do need to be careful of army movement. And I will come to agents in a moment, but the other important thing is army movement. You can preview this by holding right click on the campaign map so you can see how far the armies can move. So, you can just get one army over here and you can see where it can move and stuff like that. So that's really helpful. And this is really important because you need to split up your armies more than once, and it's important to know where it can go, if it will suffer attrition, if, like, for example, if you go or if you're near vampire territory and you want to go in there, then you can preview how far you need to go until you suffer attrition and then stop one tile short of that so that you won't suffer attrition. That's pretty important. The other thing is that you do need to value map vision. I think at the moment this isn't really that much of an issue for me, but it's really important that you keep your outer territories secure and that you can keep an eye on what's happening. If you do have military alliances, that's pretty good because then you can see what they can see. But you can see, for example, right here, I have my agent. So I just see, alright, every time there will be army movement coming through this little valley here, I can see it and respond. And this kind of map vision is really important. When I fought the vampire accounts, I had one agent over here, one over here, one over here, and one over here. And what this also is, this is kind of warning you of any army movement, and you can react really like a lot earlier. And the thing is that when you are fighting in the south, but attacks can come from the north, it's really important to move your armies accordingly. So if you see, for example, armies moving out from the north to the south pretty early on with an agent, you can go ahead and get one army in march stance up to your northern part, which would be like over here, and secure that so that you can be ready for this engagement. And at several times that I reacted to army movement of my opponent several turns in advance, and it paid off every single time. So the AI is pretty predictable in this kind of thing, so try to exploit that as much as possible. Which leads me to the agent spam. Like, a lot of people are complaining about that. I don't use any mods for that at all, and I don't really had any problems. The thing is that this agent spam comes in waves. And the first wave is when chaos first shows up, then you get some agents, and if you're ready, and this means that you recruit all the agents possible and you level them up as much as possible by doing assassinations, sabotage missions, and while basically going over 2 turns or something, you deploy them so they get experience every single turn and you maximize this experience gain. You will have a few agents once their first agent wave shows up, and you just assassinate them every single turn. Eventually you will kill them, and this is just a question of economy. So again, this is more of an economy game. I think like the economy is way more important than anything else, because even if you are a bad commander in battle, you can recover most of the time, and economy is really important to win the agent game as well, and to field enough armies to win the army game. So overall, economy is the most important part of this game, in my opinion. So try to deal with this first wave, and then try to not go really broad. I mean, like, not go really hard on more agents, because at a certain point these agents will just cost you a lot of money and not give you anything in return. But try to go for 3 or 4 really high agents, and those will be your assassinate agents, so spec them accordingly. These will be your first agents that you recruit. You should aim to be assassinate agents. You should spec them accordingly, and then you will have like a few other agents. I really like a light wizard, I think it is, that is spec'd for reinforcement, like plus reinforcement gains. Because this means that if you have one in your army, you can reinforce your army and basically take them up to full strength in 2 or 3 turns, opposed to like 5 to 8 turns. And this is an incredible advantage, because you can get a lot of tempo this way. You know, you can get a full army going before your opponent can recruit another full army, and this can snowball pretty hard, and it allows you to defend really, really well. Speaking about agents, another thing a lot of people are complaining about is really quick armies that are just going around and raising your settlements. And the thing that I found really useful is, of course, for the most part, getting 2 armies. That's one thing, you know, get 2 armies and then just corner it, because they can't really run by your other army. Sometimes they can, I think it's a bug, but oh well, you know. The other thing is that you do need to go quantity over quality in your army, so don't have the max quality of units in every army, because this will mean that you can field at least half the armies that you otherwise would. So try to get some great swords, for example, some gunmen, but still keep swordmen, still keep halberdiers, still keep units like that, you know, crossbowmen in your army, and basically mix them up a little bit. This will mean that they are still pretty strong, but that you can field more armies, and more armies is what is really important, because again, you will have multiple fronts. They will have armies run by, and another thing to deal with those again is map vision. Try to get this map vision up as soon as possible. Let me just, like, you know, filter out some events here, so we can go a little bit quicker through this here. So try to do that, and if you have map vision, you can block these armies and move your armies accordingly pretty early on, and then prevent those run-bys by forcing them into a fight. Alright, so this should be it for the mid-game, and now comes late game. Again, if you did forge some alliances in or like during Chaos Invasion, for example with the southern folks, with dwarves, then those will most likely persist until the common enemies like greenskins and vampires are wiped out, and then it basically becomes a battle for the last provinces if you want to go that far. But if you wipe out greenskins and vampires, normally you will have your campaign done anyways. So diplomacy during the mid-game, during your Chaos Invasion, is really important, because that is what the world will look like once Chaos is gone. The thing is that you really want to manage your equipment really well, because you will get a lot of equipment over time, followers will die, you will get new followers. And the way this played out for me is that I had different kind of characters with different focuses. And I had, once again, 3 to 4 almost maxed out agents for assassinations, so I spec them accordingly, you know, that assassinations against them will fail, that they cleanse corruption while they're in enemy territory, that they have a higher chance of success, stuff like that. But I also had a little bit of lower quality agents or lower level agents with different focuses, so I had 1 or 2 public order agents, especially those Empire, I think, I don't really know what they're called. I just forgot it, so I will look this up. Let's see here. So yeah, the Empire captains, and if you spec them into plus public order again, they can become a powerhouse in this regard. So that's important. And the wizards can also be spec'd, for example, for minus corruption. Then you give them minus corruption followers. Then you give them plus public order, and they become really, really good at cleansing frontline territories that are really corrupted. And your army can move on because you also get plus public order. So try to specialize your characters. Try to make it a habit to check your character's equipment and followers, I don't know, like every 3 to 5 turns, because this will change and you don't want to go into a fight without having all your followers and stuff like that equipped. So try to stay on top of that. Again, pretty much a lot of micro required, but yeah, that's what you need to do. The other thing is that corruption won't really be a problem once Chaos is gone, it will retreat, so you can start demolishing the temples of Sigma that you don't need anymore. So yeah, basically adjust your province layout accordingly and try to prepare for battles in other directions again. If you fight Chaos, you will most likely expand north and go with that. So you do need to adjust accordingly and go for like prepare invasions to the south again by building military buildings there that you might not have needed beforehand. All right. The other thing is that you really do want to you really do want to lessen your trade investments, basically. If you didn't know that, you can check out really complex trade overview over here, and you see that this has multiple benefits. For example, you see how much you're exporting. So in this case, I'm exporting 13% of my pottery, which means I don't really need any pottery to be produced because I'm exporting way less. And you can see that this is not that true for dice, for example, and other things. And you can see which additional trade building you need by checking this tab regularly. And there's also another thing, which is this long-term partnership here, which means that when you trade longer with a faction, for example, I did have a trade agreement very early on with the Paravan faction, and I maintained it over a long time. You will actually get money just for having that. And you can see that's 200 at this point. It's not that much, but if you are at an income of like say 2k a turn, it's actually 10% of your income, and that's a lot. So try to focus on that, and if you can get good trade agreements early on, try to keep them, try to not attack them, and try to adjust your producing structures to what you actually need. Alright, army composition wise, I do have some quality armies. For example, like this, you can see there are still some units that are not that much quality, or that doesn't have that much quality. For example, swordsmen and shielded spearmen and crossbowmen. So you can see this is kind of a mix of an army I use right now. The thing is that I do focus on automatic battles quite a lot. So if you fight your battles personally, you might want to alter these compositions. I don't really know how well they work for me, but these really, I say, not that strong armies, you know, these really basic armies, that's what I was looking for, are pretty okay to deal with any faction. And if you fight, for example, not the Chaos factions themselves, but the like the Skark or the Varg and Scaling, I think the other faction is called, you can just field lower quality armies because they don't have that much quality units anyway. So try to account for that and adjust for that. The other thing that I really learned to value is the March stance. Try to use this as much as possible, especially when your empire grows, because this is the difference of many turns to go from the southern part of your territory to the northern part, or catch up and join up with other armies. So that's really important to keep that in mind and to focus on that. So try to use it very often, especially also early game, you know, to defend. That's pretty good. And I think that's it for the most part. I'm sure I forgot some things, so if you do want to know something else, you have more questions, just go ahead and ask me, and I will answer them in the comments below. And maybe I will make another video just for the questions that will come up. So if there are enough questions, maybe I will do a follow-up video. I think that's it for me right now. There won't be really that much battle strategy in here, as I plan to do another video for that. For example, I do have a whole campaign planned on Legendary with the Empire that I will do every single battle on like manually. So this will be pretty good, I think, and it will be pretty long. It will take a lot of time, but it will be a lot of fun, and I think I will be much more knowledgeable to give you in-depth battle guides by then. So see you then. If you like what you see, consider subscribing, and I see you next time. Bye bye.